Welcome back to part two with Jordan March. Let's get into it.
See, the thing is, if you just see this as a hobby and as a media as like this, and you're not really seeing how this can be your number one source for finding new investors, you're missing the boat 100 times to people who are actually using this stuff. And they do it without any editing. It doesn't need to be perfect. Your hair doesn't need to be done. Makeup doesn't. Now they have filters. You got backdrops. You got you're blurred in the background. Let's get it going because there's so much money to be made out here, and people are waiting and dying to have you pop up and sell them something because that's your money now. And I said it earlier, right? Take your money because these investors they want to get out there and they want to do it, and we're in a market now that it's getting very frothy. And we have Bitcoin going 100,000, it's going to be $200,000. They got to start getting into hard assets. Or people, if you guys are doing, if you're doing a fund for Bitcoin, maybe they got to start playing in that arena. But if you're not showing people those wins and you're kind of hiding, you're missing the boat. So I'd even challenge everybody today to start with an email newsletter, even once a month on your niche. And what I want you to do at the end of the call is just put it right in your calendar because now you can't write as a recurring event, right? And you have the day that you create the newsletter, and then you have the day that you press submit. And that's for any media. I would say dealing with Netflix is it's a process. Production's a process, right? So we plan it, we film it, we edit it, we release it. It's the same thing, right? A lot of you guys can't get it together because you haven't sat to think about, let me plan this out. What would 10 videos look like to my target audience? And you say, what do I post about? Well, what are you passionate about with your business? If you're in yachting, can you talk about, you know, I was working on that recently with another partner. Can you talk about it intelligently, right? Like just how did we winterize a boat? Anything. Where are the best lakes to sail in America? But it's showing you that you're an authority in it so that now on your 10th video say, hey, audience, this audience that I've been building and curating for a while, I'll say, hey, if you're interested in getting into this space and doing what I'm doing here, you need to drop me a DM. You need to drop me a note. But you're building your positioning up, right? And with a lot of confidence. I asked Ryan Serhant the other day, I said, what am I doing wrong? What can I do better? Right? This guy brings in a few hundred, say $100 million a year, whatever it is. They're at $5 billion for the company. Well, 5 billion in sales this year. And he goes, you need, and this is, and we're doing Hollywood stuff now. And he goes, you need to think even more highly about yourself. You just don't think, you just don't. And I go, and it hit me like really hard because I go, oh, I think great about myself. Your self-esteem is there, but are you really leveraging your personal IP? Your opinion, your words, your tweets, your voice, and bringing it together, your brand, right? Or whatever the brand is of the companies that you're really trying to position. So if they're real estate deals, show people that people made money, show those exits, right? A lot of you guys are raising a lot of money. Maybe dial it back a little bit, get through a few, few exits, right? Just to show that like you've gotten people out safely. All right. Like, maybe we're not going to, raise $100 million. Can you get 20, 30? And can we get through that in a year rather than sitting in this fund for 4 years? Right. So you got to know where your positioning is. Sometimes you got to build up. Can you buy into a company or a fund or partner with somebody and help them to get, you know, um, a position in equity? Right. So these are the things you have to really think of. And every year I update all my marketing. Every year I go back to it and start pulling stuff out because there's new things. There's AI, your clients, and I'm like, I don't want to know about AI, but then I start using it. I go, oh my God, it was able to look at, I just priced out 84 units in 2 days. That would have taken me 6 weeks because
Wow.
there's different lines, different exposure, different ceiling heights, right? Like we have a building being built across the street. And these tools, I could say now I work faster than ever because ultimately people want to make informed decisions faster. So this game is about speed, the people who are able to get their message out there faster. Social media also is utility in the sense of scale. How long would it take you to have 1,001 minute conversations versus it taking you a minute to have that conversation online? And even though 1,000 people, I think a lot of people get discouraged, go, oh, nobody's really on it. Only 1,000 people looked at it. And I go, you don't need to know 1 million people. You need to market to 2 to 3,000 people really, really well. Start thinking about this game way different. How do I take and leverage the people from the church, the people from the game, the people from the school, and the people that are in my niche, and just stay in front of them in a way that feels authentic? And authentic may mean I don't talk. I write my newsletter. I talk about data. I put data out there. Some people just do memes. We have people who a lot of the people in the show, some of them they like talking, but for me, I like walking through, put the music behind it. I open the doors, I show the beautiful ceilings, I show the stuff, the windows. Sometimes I'm not even talking. It takes me a second. I open it up and I go, okay, the camera's on. Imposter syndrome sets in, but I know on the other side of this, there's money. So I'm not letting that set in. And I'm not waiting any longer because I realized that in the past, I would have had to call the local radio station and say, give me a quote to get 30 seconds to reach my target audience. Now you're able to do it in a way that is scalable and that you can pause it in any day. The beauty about ads is that when you start to target who you want to get in front of, say people in private equity who live in your town, that's a target, by the way, right? I could say I only want to run ads on LinkedIn and I'm going to do it for $5 a day, $10 a day, 300 bucks a month to have conversations with people coming in every single day. So this is selling for you, and now you could say anything. Maybe you do want to do your hair and nails and look really great and jump out of an airplane. Let me tell you something about Netflix. They are not sitting there and feeding me ideas. They go, great, you got the camera, make a show. What do you do? But I do realize that at the end of the day, yeah, it's great, it's on TV, but I leverage it in the sense of my mentality is, okay, well, what do you do with that attention once you get it? You got to bring it to another platform. Because they're going to go from Netflix, they got to go on, what are you going to check next on me? You're going to see my website or you're going to go on my Instagram or you're going to go on my YouTube. For boomers now, it used to be the young people, right? We always use this, it's the millennials, the Gen Zs. Boomers are the biggest audience in YouTube now. Why? Because it's long form content and it's the second most used search engine outside of Google. If you go to Google and ask them, hey, I want prime real estate on that website, cost per click, if you're quoted $1 to $5, you'd be broke by time you get through 100 clicks, like 100 clicks a day, let's just say, right? Whereas YouTube now, you're able to really carve out your niche. By the way, if you spend 100 days with YouTube as a client, they will start redirecting your videos. So you get that organic push. And you could spend $3 a day with them. You could be spending $100 a month on one video that says, you know what? We got to really get this property moving. We got to really get this business moving. I want to show people what I'm doing, right? And I want to put it together. And maybe if you're doing rehabs, let them see the behind the scenes. If you're making crypto plays, let's see those plays. How are we making money, right? And that builds, guys, and it builds in such a way that if I was to sit back on the sidelines and I see it every single day, I see it every single day where people just sit on the sidelines and just think, what could life be if I just got my head out of my butt to do this specific way, right? It's no longer we just have a couple tools on our tool belt, we have an entire tool shed. And the beauty is it's free and you're walking around with it in your phone all day long. So for me as a marketer, right, I'm a real estate guy, but people also want to know about my mindset. They want to know where to hang out, where to eat, where to drink, where to bring their kids, where to do everything, right? But then now I look at my team and I go, I'm attracting online people with a very high net worth, right? So know your audience. If you're B2B, LinkedIn all day, baby. And you can buy those lists. You can do a lot of reaching out to companies. I mean, you should be having a VA create a one pager for you, and you just start pounding those phones, pounding those emails. And you say, this is the target. We need to get in touch with all these family offices. You have to be smart about it, right? But how do you work your way up? When I had to sell Central Park Tower, you know what Ryan did? They just said, I didn't even know I was there, firstly. He's like, come meet me at Central Park Tower tomorrow. And he says, yep, you get to sell this, you make $10 million. And I'm doing this while managing my team, while being a father, while also filming a show that's 4 days a week, right? 4 to 5. But they cram you for four and they feel like they give you one work day. I say this to say he goes, sell a $250 million unit. What's the exercise of reverse engineering? How do we get in touch with Elon Musk? I know it sounds crazy, but like a lot of you need to get a little crazy and not doubt that maybe he would buy your business if he heard about it. Or even just to have somebody look at your business and say, you know what, let me chop it up and tell him everything that he's doing wrong is so invaluable. And I say that because I had to pitch that. I had to get people in. I had to literally figure it out. And if it was, you're doing your family vacations should be looped in with your investment strategy so that it doesn't feel so bad when you're just flying first class anymore. It doesn't feel so bad when you're staying at the for Four Seasons. But you said that you needed to make 5 contacts and memorialize a couple business meetings, right? You have to like, this is a game of now putting stuff together in a very smart way, right? These young guys, Corey and Joe, they're out here. They decided we're going to put this together. And guess what? Now there's a room of, 40 people and it's growing. But it was 5 people at one point, right? There was just a handful. Now we got people here every week getting value out of it. So I say that because it'll never just happen for you. And that was what I needed to really make sure I was successful in Hollywood was you have to be so self-sure, so self-validated and go through the process, right? Get investors to rip your stuff up. Let people tell me no why. Tell me what you hate about me. Some people are like, you know what? I love you, but you can't seem to put the right shoes on. I don't know. Right? You come late to my meetings, whatever it is, but try to get that frank, honest feedback that doesn't trigger you. And then when positioning your brand, think of one other adjective that describes you, because also it's not just the money. People buy you as a person. They buy your integrity. They buy your sense of humor. They buy the way that you present a deal, right? Otherwise, why would we work with anybody? Why would we work with any broker, right? Whether it's real estate or anything. It's the opinion. So have an opinion, right? Formulate the opinion. A lot of you guys don't know your competitors, don't know your data. Data room's a mess. Clients clicking on a website can't get through the emails. And then there's another guy that comes, he's got it all dialed in, ready to go. And it's sleek. And he's looking at other websites and go, oh, I want mine to look kind of like that one. How often do we get a website? You're like, oh, you know, I guess you're out there rather than, wow, you showed up in your best suit. You showed up in that wedding tux. You get my drift? So when you have that level of intensity, I'm telling you, everything changes. And it doesn't mean being, as I said, over tenacious in your follow-ups and like really insincere about how you're making your connections. But it means that like you're really passionate about what you're doing to the point where like, you want that deal to be so visceral in you, whatever your offering is. Turn that thesis into a deep offering that when you pitch that thing, that you're foolproof. First thing is risk, of course, everybody knows. Especially in this market, you have to be talking about how you're going to foolproof risk or dial it back, right? Because too often people are not talking about the possibility, oh, you're never going to lose your money. Well, that's not the world we live in right now, right? And it's a very big concern. And often I hear great ideas, but that's the one thing the institutional players are going to touch. Who's your accounting firm? Who's your compliance arm that you're working with? If it's mom and pop, your Uncle Joe's doing accounting for your company, why am I giving you $10 million? Yeah, but I wanted to save a couple bucks. This one was 2K, the other guy was 3K. I'd be surprised how often you'd be surprised how often I give referrals for attorneys and someone will pick a worse attorney for $1,000 rather than like, the right people that get
Yeah.
the job done and like really help you. And then the
Oh,
deal's an ass.
yeah.
And I go, well, this attorney doesn't even pick up his phone. So, anyways, tie it in. Build a calendar the month before. That's the key. Planning, planning, planning. Because if you wake up and go, I got to do videos, imposter syndrome sets in. You're like, I don't have a plan. But you may want to replicate, find a mentor, find an avatar online that you want to replicate, right? And you're like, you know what? I really like this Alex Harmozy, how he's doing his deals and how his setup is. And he talks about it. This is my unique pitch. This is my unique spin, right? We have people sitting on the show that's called The Stoop. We have somebody sitting on their stoop talking, right? Remember that show? Like, there's no wrong answer right now. The only wrong answer is to have no answer. So I encourage you guys, and then the last thing I'll leave you with, and you guys can open up the floor, is that, take time to learn Google Analytics and to learn the analytical side of how to speak about really what a well-performing campaign looks like. So if you're running, is anybody doing, local businesses, retailers, right? You're working in, I mean, most verticals now should you be, using some form of advertising, I feel, right? Especially if you're now back in company, medical facilities. I know I've met people who are doing, they're the setting up esthetician facilities, right? Where they're getting different treatments. But even if you're the local chiropractor, even if you're the local restaurant, the local diner, right? Like we got to figure out how to still draw more attention. We got tables to sell. So I say that as build out your offering. They've Hootsuite is a good one. There's a few other websites that you could press one button, you post a picture, and it sends it everywhere. So now you're going to scale your voice because I don't know where the videos are going to go viral. I may put 15 seconds out on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever, and it does 50 views over here, it does 50 views over there. Over here, it did 5,000. I didn't know where it was going to really hit. So you can set those things up, which take a little time and effort. But if you're prioritizing that this is the main driver for your lead generation for your business, then you should be taking the time out to understand how to think as a marketer. It's just like buying an ad in the Times or getting a local billboard or getting that, calling the radio station and getting an advertisement segment. It's the same thinking. So you want to think very tactical, right? Tactical is the word. Adding it to your calendar, right? So production day, if you're doing video, if you're taking a photo, right? Learn how to take a good photo. It takes you 5 minutes to read a blog about taking a good photo, right? If you're hiring marketers, right, to do it for you, can you now judge their performance? Because a lot of these marketers will sell you a dream. You got to be able to look in there and say, how do my conversions work for my business? What's my cost per lead and my cost per acquisition? Right. And that should be really mapped out, whatever you're in. What's my cost per lead and what's my cost per acquisition? Because those are the metrics that you'll continuously help perform. Or leads are coming in. Now, what's my cost to hire somebody and train somebody well? And can I replace them with technology? Can I get somebody who's, should I be paying somebody more for a higher conversion? You have to be able to make those assumptions and you have to plot it out. So, I really want to just kind of leave that with you guys today. But the beauty is like everything's on the other side of that. Everything. And I'm telling you right now, Central Park Tower, I would sit here, think of somebody and DM them right on the spot. Or I'd say, okay, I got to get in touch with Jay-Z. Okay, Jay-Z owns Rock Nation. Rock Nation's managed by someone. Okay, let me see if I can work my way down the totem pole. Work your way down the totem pole a little bit, right? and you might find your way you get right back in the throne room again. Because you can't just get in touch with Elon Musk directly, but he's got a lot of personnel and he's got a lot of gatekeepers. So you got to figure out how to do that, right? Ken Griffin, he's the other one who bought the most expensive home in the United States, $238 million dollars. I got in touch with him for the deal. I didn't know him from before. So you have LLC searches these days, Spokio.com. You have ways to look up contacts for people. How is Ryan Serhant selling all that property? He does a lot of outreach.
We have one more segment with Jordan March. Come back to hear all about execution and outreach. Like and subscribe and follow for more.